Real talk. Welcome to Two Talks. Two Talks. Real conversations for all to enjoy. Number one station, Real Talk with Two Talks.
Tulu Talks. Welcome to Tulu Hall Talks. This is episode 3 of 6. Today's conversation is a break in between me speaking about my early years, my first relationship, which I speak about in episode 2, and moving on to more serious relationships. I've been thinking about how to begin to discuss my later years of life. This is sort of my 20 to 30 period. And as I was sitting and thinking about it, I wanted to speak to the younger generation, to speak to those that are in their 30s. I was thinking about what I would say to my younger self if I was given the opportunity to sit face to face with Linda at 20 to 30, and what advice I would give. The first piece of advice I would tell my younger self is life moves fast. You feel young today. Life moves fast. Don't wait to start living at a certain stage. So in your singleness, you might be thinking, oh, when I find my husband, I'll wait to live that. Don't live life like you have unlimited time, because you don't. Time goes by really, really, really fast. And this period, my sister, of 20 to 30, you're wasting your most powerful years of your life. These are the most powerful years of your life. Don't rush through life. Enjoy each moment to be able to get fulfillment. Stop. Enjoy every moment. Don't put things off to later, because later becomes tomorrow. Tomorrow becomes next week. Next week becomes next month. Next month becomes next year. Don't put things off. One of the most crucial things I will tell you is that time doesn't belong to you. Time doesn't belong to you. Even if you feel you have a million chances, even if you feel like, oh, I'm only 21, oh, I'm only 25, oh, I'm only 27, time doesn't belong to you. Use it up wisely. I would tell my younger self to check the decisions that I would make. Like, really look before you make a decision, because you will pay for bad decisions. You will pay for bad decisions. And you will lose years that you can never get back. These bad decisions will never, you will lose time. You will lose valuable years. These are your best years now. When I was in my 20s to 30s, I thought time was endless. I really thought time was endless. I thought I was going to have forever. I'm only 21, I'm only 25, I'm only 27, I'm only 30. And when I was in relationships, one of the biggest mistakes I told myself was that love could fix itself. No matter how bad things were, I really believed that love could fix itself. I'm sad to say that I definitely ignored disrespect. And as I go into the next episode, where I will speak a lot more, this episode will make sense. When I say I ignored disrespect in relationships, I will give examples of where I ignored the disrespect. I would say to you today, my sister, if you're 20 to 30, be good to yourself. Be good to yourself. I would tell you that regret moves very fast. Learn to speak up for yourself. Speak up for yourself. Don't allow abuse to happen, hoping that he will change. Don't allow that. People show you who they are, And so many times as women, we want to believe, we want to fix, we want to nurture, we want to mother people, partners, men, boyfriends, relationships, husbands. We want to mother them. But what is critical to know is that people show you who they are. People show us who they are. Stop telling yourself that everyone's going through it. So, oh, everyone has a bad relationship. There's no perfect relationship. There's no good relationship. Everyone's going through something. Everyone's having a tough time. That's not true. Not everyone is being abused. Not everyone is in a relationship that they are devalued. Not everyone is in a relationship where they are treated badly. If there's stress in your relationship, that's not normal. Don't accept it. Don't accept it as this is life. Everybody's relationship is stressful, because that is not acceptable. I want you, my sister, to stop ignoring pain, because pain is never nothing. Being hurt and being in pain in a relationship is not nothing. Stop hiding pain and wearing masks. Stop. You're in your 20s to 30s, stop hiding the pain and wearing a mask because the relationship you're in isn't going well. I would tell my younger self, you're special. I would also tell my younger self, don't let your ego keep you in a self-made prison. Don't let your ego, don't let the shame that you think you're going to feel at being alone keep you in a relationship where you are being trampled upon, where you are being ill-treated, where there is no respect. You are chasing a person 24/7. Don't let your ego keep you in that place. Because what ego is going to do is ego is going to isolate you. It's going to isolate you. And then you'll begin to compare yourself, compare your life with others. And then you will feel guilt. And life doesn't become easier. I experienced a lot of pain that I accepted because of my ego. I avoided hard talks, hard conversations because I was scared of conflict. Scared. If I say this, what's going to happen? If I challenge him here, what's going to happen? I would adjust. To whatever we were going through. I would be patient because guess what? If I don't fight with him, maybe he'll see me as wifey material. And I was waiting and waiting for him to change. My sister, you're young. Your best days are now. Your best days are now. I hope just these little bits that I'm saying to you will make sense as I begin to share the rest of my life. So in episode 2, I speak about being a Christian. Now, for anyone that doesn't know what a Christian is a follower of Jesus Christ. We believe in Jesus Christ, the Son of God. We believe in Father God, and we believe in the Holy Spirit. So in my second relationship, I mentioned that I was with a person that was really good. He was lovely. He wasn't saved. And so it made the relationship for me, who was really pursuing God, feel like it wasn't a God-given relationship. And so I moved to the United Kingdom from Zimbabwe, and I came to go to Bible school. My first few months here were spent committed to going to church and attending Bible school. And so I was walking the path that I believed was for me. My younger sister then came to join me in the United Kingdom. And not long after she arrived, she fell pregnant and was blessed to have a baby boy. Prior to her having the baby boy, I threw her a baby shower. Now, the Zimbabwean community was still quite a small community in the United Kingdom back in the days. And so if you did know a Zimbabwean, you would invite them and they would invite other Zimbabweans, and, people just sort of all went to each other's parties, whether we knew each other or not. I had Indian friends, I had English friends, everybody was welcome. We invited all sorts of people to this party. I had been dating, I think I'd been on 2 dates, or this was going to be our third sort of date with a guy, and he wasn't exciting for me. He wasn't exciting. He was a good guy, but he wasn't exciting for me. It was one of those where you're going on a date and you're waiting to see if there's going to be potential. So that person wasn't really someone that I would say, oh, I was considering really being in a relationship. I was looking and waiting to see what would come out of our dates. So this baby shower that I had for my sister was where I met my first baby daddy. That was he'd come with some friends. We had some friends who invited friends, and he'd come with these friends to my home where I met him. The hostess of a party, because it was a surprise baby shower. So my sister came, found out she let the surprise, and it was the women first, and then in the evening the men came. A group of guys walked in, and as usual, my immature self, any guy that was tall was the best thing for me. So this guy walked in, and he was tall and handsome. He was really handsome, and he actually was a model. So it was exciting. I welcomed him because you're the hostess, you're always going to welcome, and I am a people person, so I will always be nice and hospitable to people. So he came in, and I invited them in. I offered them food, showed them where the food was, where drinks were, and I walked away. I went to a different room, to the lounge, because they were in the kitchen getting some food, and I went into the lounge, and when I came back I realized he didn't have a plate of food with him. So I went up to him and I said to him, oh, do you want me to dish up some food? And he was like, oh, thank you. So I went out and I dished up some food. In that, there was a bit of I could sense the chemistry between us. There was a bit of a spark there going. So I gave him his food. But the guy that I'd been on the dates with happened to come to the party because he'd been invited by me, of course. And these two happened to know each other, which was really bizarre. It was the first time I'd been on a date with someone that knew someone else. And having had the experience I'd had of my friend with my first boyfriend, it left me feeling uncomfortable, because I could sense that my attraction was drawn to this person. And this guy had been a good guy, but like I said, he wasn't exciting. There was no thrills. He was going to become a good friend. In any case, these guys knew each other, so small world. Didn't think much of it, just thought, oh, I'm interested. That guy's quite nice. I think he's good looking. And I was going to be moving on and see where this goes with the guy that I'd been on a couple of dates with, because this party was just a one-off. I'd met this guy first time in my life. Didn't think anything was going to come out of it. Throughout the rest of the party night, I did notice that we were like sort of checking each other out, constantly looking at each other, and I was getting hot, like flushed in my face. I would be just like, oh, that guy's good, that guy's cute, that guy's cute. Anyway, party went on. It was a successful party, really beautiful party. My sister was surprised. She had this joy of having this party and having the baby. So all was well in the kingdom of Tulu. Fast forward to 2 days later, I used to host a Bible study in my home, a weekly Bible study in my home, and I had people that would come, from within the community, within the neighborhood, attend my Bible study, and I would lead this Bible study. To my surprise, Mr. Tall, handsome model happened to come. Now, the first thing was shock, as in, oh, I opened the door and he's holding his Bible and he comes in. You can imagine, oh yeah, I was feeling butterflies, like, oh my gosh, and he's a Christian, he's holding his Bible, he's come with his Bible. So he attended the Bible study, and Bible study went well, and of course I was sort of excited that he'd come to Bible study. I hadn't spoken to him about Bible study. I hadn't told him I had a Bible study. So it was one of those where you think, I wonder how he knew I was having a Bible study. And so it was a bit, okay, this is exciting. This is a bit exciting. I had just bought a new handset. Back in the day, we used to have landlines. So I had just bought a new handset, and I'm a girly girl. I'm not good with my hands. I can't put light bulbs. I can't, fix any drawers. I can't do anything. So I did ask him, to say, would you mind trying to do this? Because he did stay after everyone had left. So he, all macho came in and he set up my new handset, which was quite exciting, Firstly, he's coming with a Bible. Secondly, here he is. I'm the damsel in distress, and he comes in as the macho man, and he's able to save and rescue me. So I was over the moon. I was totally over the moon. When it was time for him to leave, I walked him out to his car, and just talking, he was asking questions about what I'd been teaching and just sort of asking me why I knew so much about the Bible. And I'd shared that I'd been at Bible school in Zimbabwe and I'd come to the UK to complete my theology degree. He then asked me out on a date, and he said, oh, would you mind if I could take you out for dinner? I said to him, absolutely fine. We agreed to go out for dinner the Friday, exchanged numbers. Up until then, we were texting and phoning and having conversations. And it was one of those where we were starting to talk and go to bed 2-3 in the morning because the conversations are just not ending. So I was excited. I had met someone that excited me, someone that made me feel like alive. So I contacted the guy I'd been on the 2 dates with and just shared with him that I'm so sorry, but I don't think he and I were going to become anything. So I was going to just, sort of stop dating him and stop speaking to him. He asked me if it was because I had met Mr. Model, which surprised me because I was like, what made you think that? And he said to me that at my sister's baby shower, he had seen the chemistry. He had seen all the eye contact. He had seen the constant smiles. He'd seen when Mr. Model would walk past me and just slowly touch my shoulder or touch my back and, just sort of make some kind of contact. And I told him I was sorry if it had hurt him, but I hadn't sought this out. It just sort of happened. He was decent about it. He was a decent guy. He was quite decent about it, except that he shared with me that this guy and him had both chased another woman in the past. And it was the reverse. She'd been dating Mr. Model, and he came along and then she chose him. So that was a bit of okay, so you both have the same taste twice. So it was just one of those. And he warned me and he said to me, I hope this guy is genuinely after you and not after you because he knows I'm after you. I didn't think it was. I didn't think it was because the chemistry for me on my end was real. It was real. But I did heed that warning. Fast forward to the first date. So he'd called me and, he'd told me I'll be here to pick you up. And I could not wait. Now, I'd always been a little bit of a googly-eyed person with all these romantic beliefs and things that I wanted in my romance and what I wanted to see in a man. Now, because I was quite young, immature, what I was praying for, what I was believing for a husband for, turned out to be quite superficial. although I didn't think I was. But when I look back now as an older woman, I do think it's superficial. So here comes Mr. Model, and he walks up to our door. My sister opened up for him, and he came in, and obviously I was getting dressed in my room, and when I came out, I walked in and I could smell him. The perfume, the smell of the perfume was divine. I think he'd used a bottle. He must have like all over, because when he walked in, that smell lingered. And so I smelled him before I actually saw him. And I could have fallen. I could have fallen. He came in dressed in a pair of jeans, a deep navy blue pair of jeans, a white polo neck shirt, and a black leather jacket. That was my dream outfit. I had watched Ross on Friends, I had watched Falcon Crest, and I always loved when you would see this rich man wearing his white polo neck and his black leather jacket. And so I was like, I looked at my sister and I was like, and anyway, we go out on a date and we get to his car. He comes round, he opens the door for me. A bit of chivalry, I liked it. Went in and I sat in, and he jumped into the car and he says to me, "Oh, I'm just going to warm the seats just so that you're not cold." And he puts the seat warmer up so that I wouldn't be cold. So here we are. I'm sitting on these warm seats, and we go off to dinner, and he takes me to a restaurant that is my favorite restaurant at the time. And as we go, he comes out, he opens the door for me, and he takes me in. So we get in, and we have to wait a bit because it's quite full. And you get, they would give you a buzzer, and you would go to the bar and sit. Now, up to this point, I wasn't a drinker. I was not a alcohol drinker. So I thought, it's a night out, and he's quite cute. I'm gonna have a glass of wine and act also like, So when he offered me a drink, I asked for a glass of wine. It wasn't the first time I'd had alcohol. I'd had alcohol when I was younger, but in my walk with God, I had stopped. I was not drinking. So we sat down and he asked me if I knew what I wanted, and then he suggested that his favorite food here was lamb shanks. Now, I was done because things were happening almost like a dream. Number one, he came dressed as my dream man. Number two, he opened the door, which is something I've always wanted, a man that will come and open the door for me. Number three, he's warmed up the seat so I'm not cold. Number four, he's taken me to the restaurant that I love. Number five, his favorite meal happens to be my favorite meal. I sat across this guy and I thought God had sent him. I was like, there is no way that he can be this good. God has sent him. We had an amazing meal. Didn't want to go home. We went out in London. We found a place that we could go. And it was just one of those sort of romantic where you don't want it to end. We were people watching in the club, and both of us had the same sense of humor, very sarcastic kind of humor. And so we were laughing. It was just magical. That first date was the big setup. You see, because I wanted to walk with God, Satan knew he can't just bring trouble written with a capital T on it. What does he have to do? He has to disguise it into something I like, something I want. And guess what, guys? I didn't want him. It was the first time in my life that I threw caution to the wind. I was not going to allow anything to keep me from him. So that first night we got back home, sat in his car right up until about 8 o'clock in the morning. I went up to sleep and he was back by 12 because it was a Saturday. And we went out to a park, spent the day out, came back, same thing, 5, 6 in the morning, just became inseparable. I, did, I, I wasn't even praying. I wasn't talking to God. I was literally just going from talking to him to talking about him to talking to him to talking about him to talking about him to talking to him. He was my world. He was everything. And I may have started to see some signs, but I think I was blinded by the lust. I was blinded by the dream of him. So the first red flag I would say that I have come to acknowledge is all the things he did on that first date, coming dressed in the clothes I wanted, taking me to the restaurant I wanted, choosing the food I wanted, wasn't really God. It wasn't God giving me the man that he had for me. You see, what this guy had done is he had spoken to my sister at the baby shower and asked for her number because he wanted to find out things about me. So he'd spoken to my sister and he literally asked her every question you could think of. What does she like? What does she, and my sister being excited for me as well. Like, this guy is good looking, gave him the information. My sister told him what to wear. He went out, bought the new clothes, bought the white jumper, bought the leather jacket, bought the blue jeans. He hadn't been to the restaurant that I liked, but he took me to the restaurant. He had to actually get a taxi driver, like a black cab driver. He'd actually had to get a black cab driver to take him to the restaurant so he would know where it is. So on our date, he'd be able to act like he knows where it is. Lamb wasn't his favorite food, but he said it was his favorite food because it is mine. And so I found out a week into us dating that all this that had happened on the first date that had left me with all these butterflies was fake. But because of lust, I ignored it. Now, why I would say it's a red flag is I didn't meet him. I didn't meet him, Mr. Model. I met Mr. Model's representative. And Mr. Model's representative is good. He is so good. We see how manipulative human beings can be. We're looking at America right now with Donald Trump as the administrator in America. And we look at how Donald Trump managed to convince Americans to vote him in a second time. And how Donald Trump is causing havoc with ICE, with the threats to Iran. We're looking at all of this. But this man managed to convince millions of people to believe that he was the best candidate. He got Americans to believe he was the best candidate. And they voted for him. So here, little Tulu, young, inexperienced in love, because up to that point, yes, I speak of my little 12-year-old boyfriend that I kissed, and I speak of my the one who got away, but I hadn't been in an intimate relationship with a man up to that point. So this guy came along and gave me what I wanted because he asked my sister, and my sister told him about me. My sister gave him ammunition to use against me, but at the time I didn't think of it. So when I found out, do you know what? I thought he was cute. I was like, oh, he just wanted to know so much about me so that he can be everything I want to be. I thought it was cute. I thought it was romantic. Oh, he asked about all these things so that he would be able to be that for me. That was a mistake. My sisters, don't be deceived by the man that acts like he's everything that you want you want. You see, a man can play the role only for so long before the real self will come out. So here we are, and he was divine. We spent every day together for the first month. I'm talking about, I was going to work and he'd pick me up from work and we would be together till the next morning when I go back to work. And it just continued like that for a month. And within 1 month, the good Christian Bible student allowed a man to move into her home with her and a sister within 1 month. I hid it. I I I had friends that I was very close to in the church. Slowly started making excuses. So at first it's like, oh, I'm going out with my man, I'm going out with my man, I'm going out with my man. And then people that were spending weekends in my house and we were praying and going to church and going for, young adults living a good Christian life, I wasn't seeing them anymore. And I couldn't because I was in sin. I couldn't see them anymore because everything that I had said I wouldn't do, I was doing. You see, I'd made a vow to the Lord that I would abstain until marriage. I'd made a vow to God that I would be pure until marriage. And here I was, unmarried, living with a man. My parents hadn't raised me to live with a man. My parents had taught me the value of marriage. My parents had taught me that marriage was sacred. It was a vow and a commitment from one man to one woman. And that if people loved each other enough, they would make that commitment. They would make that commitment. But here I was, not even 25, and I was living with a man. It was exciting, guys. It was exciting. It was, we wake up together. We go to sleep together. Outside of work, we are together all the time. And it was fun. It was magical. We were so into each other that we hardly had time for friends. We would hang out with friends, but even with friends, we would sort of pull away and just be together. And it was an exciting relationship. It was a young relationship. We had all the time in the world. So if we came home from work and it was summer, we would go to a pub, sit at a pub, have a couple of drinks, go home at 10, 11. We would wake up on a Saturday morning and think, oh, what can we do today? And we would think, oh, let's go to Windsor Castle. Now we would drive up to Windsor Castle. We would wake up today and think, what do we do? Oh, let's go to the park and throw frisbees. And we'd go to the park and we'd throw frisbees. We'd think, okay, about going to the gym. Let's do that. So it was a young relationship and it was exciting. It was exciting. And I thought, this guy, there was nothing wrong. I remembered the guy that I dated who said to me to be careful. And I thought, if only you could see me now. Careful, this guy loves me. We're good. And it was good until I got a phone call. Now, he'd told me when we first met that he had one child. And we spoke about this child, and I was going to be the stepmom. And I was already in love with this child. I was praying for this child. I was talking to the family about the child. I was talking to the baby mother of the child. I was going to be a stepmom. There was no problem. This was before my time. I had absolutely no issues with anything that had happened before my time. Because up until you met me, you had a life, same as I had a life before I met him. So even though I was young, I was embracing becoming a stepmom. It wasn't going to be an issue. Why? A child is a child. Children are a blessing. So I was going to be the stepmom. And so I felt like, oh, he's been honest with me. He's told me everything about his life. And then I get this phone call, and it is the baby mama who says to me he hadn't taken all of his stuff from her home when he left. Now, that left me confused because you see what this guy had said was baby mama and him had been together back in the country that they're from, and they'd had their baby back in the country that they'd had. When he came here, he lived with his sister. So I met his sister, and I was under the impression when he moved in with me that he was moving in with me from his sister's house. Little did I know that he was with baby mama here. And when he moved in with me, he was moving from her home into my home. He was moving from her home into my home. This man had given me this picture of being a sincere, honest man. He's told me about his child. He's told me there's a baby mama. So when I'm talking to baby mama about baby, just like how's baby doing, what's happening now. Baby at this time was going to be 6 years old. So it wasn't really a baby, it was a young child. But I was going to be involved in this child's life. I was going to be involved in the child's life, and I had no problem with it. But here this baby mama is telling me he's left some of his things by her. So you can imagine how confused I felt. When I asked him about it, he went ballistic. First time that he went ballistic, and I saw the rage. I saw the anger. I bought it. I bought it that he was frustrated. He said to me, "Oh, she's trying to break us up. What does she mean? She's friends with my sister, so I don't know what she's talking about. Maybe my sister told her that I've left stuff there, but I don't know what she's talking about. I mean, I live with you, so I don't know why you're even listening to her." And the manipulation started. The manipulation really started, and it kicked in because guess what, guys? I honestly thought this woman was just trying to break us up. Because you see, I was living with him. So I was with him every day. He was sleeping at home. He wasn't the type. So you see, my sister, I had no reason to doubt him. He lived with me. He stayed in my house, slept in my house. We were together. So even though it raised an alarm, I was gullible. I was so gullible. You see, I hadn't had the experience of men as yet. Even though I thought I've been in a relationship, I thought I did experience. When you've been treated good in your life and you're with someone that has integrity and honesty, you assume everybody's going to have integrity and honesty. So I believed him. What I didn't think about at that time was, how did she get my number? Where did she get my number? Because you see, when I would speak to her, it would be on his phone. So I didn't know when she got my number. So when she called me, I didn't question it. I didn't think, is there a chance that she's got the number from his sister or she's got it from him? I was young, didn't have many questions. I was living in that dream. This is so cute. We moved out of the home that we had with my sister. My sister moved in with her baby daddy, and I moved with him. At the time of moving, raising the rent and the deposit, he started to come up with stories. He lost his job. Things were happening at work. They weren't paying him. There was a whole lot of palaver around finances. And that was something that I never worried about because, like I said previously, I'm not materialistic. So I was never going to be with him for A, B, C, D, F, G. So all of a sudden, the finances went into a disarray, and I was paying the rent and I was having to cover costs. Now, this is where I said, be careful about ego. You see, I had a best friend who spoke to me honestly about me living with this man and spoke to me in love because she's a Christian and I was a Christian. And so I couldn't share with anyone the things that were starting to happen that were going wrong. So we've moved into our own place, and all of a sudden, he's got no job. All of a sudden, he has no money. We're starting to struggle to pay bills, to pay rent, to make ends meet, because London is quite expensive. And so, one salary, especially considering we'd moved and upgraded our home from where I'd been with my sister, because here we were looking at the future and believing we're going to have a family, and when we have a family we wanted to be in a better position. Things changed. As soon as the financial challenges started coming, real life starts happening. So mistakes I made was that I was so scared to hold him to account financially because I was scared to lose him. I would make the sacrifice of making ends meet to cover our shame, so that nobody would know that we weren't doing well. I would put on this face. I would wear a mask when I go out. I look amazing. I would make sure if we went somewhere, I've got money and I've given him the money so he can cover up and pay bills and, pay for the drinks in front of people and stuff. But deep down, I wasn't happy, and I knew I was living in a situation that wasn't right. You see, my father had been the breadwinner, and now here I am, and I'm having to be the breadwinner of the home, and that was alien. So we had a few good years. We had quite a few good years. Then the financial situation started happening, and unfortunately, I tried to stand up for myself. I tried to stand up for myself and sort of hold him to account. And by doing that, he unleashed the beast. And for the first time in my life, I became an abused woman. For the first time in my life, I had a man lay his hands on me. My father had never. My father was one of the most amazing men in my life, because my father, no matter what we did, even as children, my father would just speak to you. He would never lay his hand on any of his kids. All four of us are old now. We're in our 50s and 40s, and all four of us have never experienced any form of discipline from my father. He was the gentle giant. My mother, on the other hand, I can tell you a few stories about her, but my father had never. And I had grown up in a home where I'd never seen my mother beat up. Never ever seen my mother beat up. So I couldn't talk about it. I remember one episode, and this was really quite serious. Where we lived, there were like stairs that came up into the flat, and I'd had a party and my colleagues had come, and all of them had seen these stairs and said, "Oh, this is dangerous, especially if you had a drink, you could fall and hurt yourself." So fast forward a couple of months, one of the times that he'd lost control, his temper, and he'd beat me up, and he'd beat me up so black and blue I was swollen. I didn't go to work for about 3 days, but because I was a manager in this job, there were things that I needed to do. So I had to go into work. So even though I was still, quite badly beaten, I thought I could lie my way. And I went into work and everyone looked at me and thought, whoa, And I said to them, oh, guess what, guys? I fell down the stairs. I used to hear stories where women would say, oh, I walked into the wall, I walked into the door, or I fell downstairs, or some excuse. And here I was. Here I was going to work and lying and saying to my colleagues I fell down the stairs. And I had one colleague, I said it to you when I came to your house, those stairs are dangerous. Oh, those stairs are really dangerous. I can imagine. That's why you look so bad. And I was glad somebody had agreed. I was so glad. I was like, it's given, it makes it look like it's real. But guys, I was badly beaten. And after that, I was so scared of conflict. After the beating, the first couple of beatings, I became scared. I was so scared to challenge him on anything. You see, the first time he smacked me, I was like, no, I'm not having this. Get out. It was one. I said, no, I'm not having this. Can you please leave? He cried like a baby. He cried like a baby. He was the most apologetic. I had roses, I had flowers, I had perfume, I had chocolates, everything he could do to make me feel like he was sorry. I bought into it, guys. I bought into it. Now, one piece of advice I'm going to say to anyone that's young. The first time a man shows you an abusive side of him, he's raising his voice at you, he's aggressive, he's shouting, he can't control his emotions. If you're with a man that cannot control his emotions, my sister, walk. Leave him. Leave him. It's not worth it, because you will never get back those years that you waste with him. And in the United Kingdom, 2 women die every week at the hands of an abusive partner. So it is not worth it. We got to a stage in this relationship where after the tears, after the performance, after the, oh, I want to kill myself, I want to die because I've never done this. I've never ever done this to anyone. I'm so sorry. I lost my temper. It's the worst. Oh, and he with tears. You can ask my mom. You can ask my dad. You can ask my sister. I've never ever done this. I bought into it. And I started to comfort him. Like, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. And so my advice is, if anyone ever does that to you, my sister, walk. So that first time wasn't the last time. Because you see, my desperation to keep him, because guess what? This is my dream man. We're in love. The first 2 years are amazing, just happiness. Like, you would not even, if you'd seen me, you would see, I would be floating, flying. I was so happy. But things had changed. We're having money problems. The temper, the lack of restraint was showing. So the relationship became toxic. The relationship became very toxic. But I avoided hard talks. So nothing was going to change. I was afraid to rock the boat, because guess what? I want to be a wife. I'm going to be 25 soon, so I want to be married. And we would talk about marriage. We would talk about it, and we would talk about how we're going to do this and how we were going to do that. And I was believing everything. I mean, it was like anything he said was just what I wanted to hear. He said the things, he knew the words to say to get me to believe that he was a good man. We go through this rocky stage of the violence, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, to the point that for the first time in my life, police were coming to my home, First time in my life, because it never happened in my parents' home. It never happened in my teenage years. It was the first time in my life I was assigned a DV worker, where someone had my number, and would call me to check in on me. Got to a stage where if I dialed 999, within minutes we would have the police at the door. It breaks my heart now, as I'm an older woman, to think I allowed that to happen. I allowed that to happen. You see, if I could have spoken to someone about what I was going through, I might have been given the counsel, I might have been given the advice that I should walk. But I wasn't going to speak to anyone about it, because I wanted to cover up for him. So I want to cover up that he's not working most of the time, that I'm covering the costs of the home. I'm covering up the fact that, like, the cars that he's driving are my cars. I'm covering up the fact that he's abusive in public. Oh gosh, we literally were just Jada Pinkett and Will Smith. We were there, out there. We were this cute couple, me with my short little self and him with his height. But because of my ego, I hadn't spoken to anyone. I hadn't shared what I was going through with anyone. I kept it to myself. And then I found the courage to talk to my mum. And for my mum, who'd never been a battered woman, she'd never been abused, my mum didn't know what advice to really give me. Because my mum had met him. My mum had come and spent 6 months with us. And in the 6 months that she was here, he was the doting son-in-law. He took mum everywhere. I could be at work and he would be out with mum, sort of just an amazing, she absolutely loved him before she found out what was happening in the home. My dad was so hurt that my dad wanted to come to the United Kingdom to beat him up. My dad was determined he was going to come and beat him up. So once my dad knew, I had to start hiding again, because I heard the pain in my dad's voice when he heard that a man had put his hands on his daughter and he wasn't in a position to protect me. It broke my father's heart to hear that I would miss work because I've been battered that badly that I can't go to work. So I started to hide again. You heard me say ego isolates you. So I'm losing my friends. I'm losing contact with my friends who were my lifeline at one time. But now, because I'm living with a man in sin, unmarried, I've lost my friends. I've lost the hearing, the listening ear. I've lost my confidence, because now, even though I still think we are in love and we're a hot couple, I'm feeling less than. I'm becoming less of a woman. I'm becoming a trampled woman. I would be alone and just cry. Just cry. Why is he doing this to me? Why is he doing this to me? And I think what breaks my heart is that I knew it wasn't good enough. But you see, I fooled myself. I said we love each other. Love. I mean, Tina Turner sings about it. What's love got to do with it? Like, love is crazy. And I began to think that this is normal. Because guess what? Satan is crafty. And in his craftiness, he places people that are going through the same thing as you. So, as we're going along life, one of my good friends, where she became one of my best friends, and we're still very good friends till today. She and her husband were going through it. And going through it included abuse. So here was someone else in the same situation as me being abused. So I begin to think it's not that bad then, because if she's going through that, I'm going through that, maybe it's more normal. And when you open yourself up to accepting disrespect, when you open yourself up to accepting ill treatment, there will be people around you planted just to continue to encourage that. Because I went to a party and it was a baby shower, and at this baby shower women were talking, and this was the first time I heard the most foolish statement in my life. But because I was so smitten and so desperate to hold on to this relationship, I thought it was true. What I heard a woman say: if a man doesn't beat you, he doesn't love you. Because when a man loves you, he's going to fight for you. And he's going to get to a point where maybe once or twice he'll put his hands on you. Guys, that's the most foolish statement ever. The most foolish statement ever. Do not agree with any reason for a man to put his hands on you. No reason for any man under the sun to put his hands on a woman. Do not allow it. Do not allow it. So yeah, we at this party and this woman is saying this, and some women are like, yeah, of course, even me, my man, he's jealous. He's jealous. Yeah, that guy loves me. He's so jealous. Doesn't want me to go anywhere. We accepting things that are not for us. So that was my learning. Now I want you to know, regret moves fast, ladies. Regret moves fast. Don't allow abuse to happen hoping he'll change. Don't allow abuse to happen hoping a person will change. Please don't. Because I went from being a good, confident Bible student to being a frail, withdrawn, battered woman. We still had good moments. I'm talking about the abuse. We still had good moments. And so I was totally under the impression that the good moments would come back again, and that we would have periods where it would always be good. Excuse me one moment. Excuse me. I had periods where I thought it would always be good. So, please don't believe that you have to be in a battered relationship and think for things to be good. Don't accept that control, because I tell you what, time will move. So, I thought love could fix itself. I really did. I thought I'm going to love him so much that even though he loses his temper, he gets upset, and then it ends up this way, we always make up. And we always made up. So I was going through this pattern of highs of happiness and joys of low. Joys and then low moments. Highs, lows, highs, lows. And I began to think, tomorrow's going to be better. We're going to be better next month, in 2 months. And we would have these conversations, these dreams about the future. So I was like always moving my pain to being gone in the future. Here we going along. And then all of a sudden, we've gone from being a couple that don't go out apart from each other to him occasionally saying to me, I'm going with the boys for basketball. Fine. Gave me a chance to go to church. I'm going with the boys, and I knew his friends. I'm going with the boys to ABC. Fine. And he got to a stage where his friends came round ours and one time said to me, I was controlling him. He wasn't going out and staying out. He would always go with them and then leave saying, oh, I've got a dash to go home to Linda. Not true. I've got to dash and get home. I've got to dash and get home. Dash and go home. I told him that I wasn't, asking him to come home early or anything. He was allowed to go for how long he wants to go. And then he called me into our bedroom and he said to me, no, I don't want to go. I'm not saying it's you. I'm using your name, but it's because I don't want to go. So I thought it was, like, oh, he's so in love with me. He's leaving the boys because he's coming to be with me. And that was like exciting. So we go through a period of time where things are good. He's working a little bit better, but still having a bit of financial problems because he's very extravagant. He wants to buy the biggest, the best, the most expensive things. So his money management skills were quite bad. So we stayed in this financial pit. I continued to cover up. And then we had a morning, he was taking me to work, but because we were running late, he would have been late to work. So he was going to drop me off at a bus and I was going to catch a bus to my office. Now, you've heard me say he was taking me to work. I've been driving since I was 16. Between us, we had 3 cars. But control had started and he had this, oh, I just want to take you to work. I don't want you to have to drive yourself. I'll drive you to work and pick you up. And what it was control. He needed to be able to control my movements. So he would take me everywhere. Now, when his obsession and his jealousy for me started to it felt like it was love. It really felt like it was love. It was like, oh, he just doesn't want to be away from me. He'd be like, oh, when I take you to work, we get that 45-minute drive. We get to spend time together rather than for me to drive by myself and you drive by yourself. And I did think it was cute. I thought it was him wanting to spend time with me. But then I did get to see that this was actually control. I did begin to see that there was a level of jealousy, because even my phone calls, I'd be on the phone with friends and he would ask me to come off the phone. He would complain, oh, you're spending all your time on the phone. And I might even have been on the phone for like 1 minute. We're still on the like, hey, how you doing? And he'll already be moaning to say, hey, no, this is too much. I need time with you. And it was always presented as it was about us in our relationship. And so slowly I noticed that my friend circle was diminishing. My guy friend circle, definitely. I think I ended up with just one friend that he knew, that he allowed me to have one guy friend. All my other guy friends were like now people that I would see maybe at church or at a function. They were no longer friends that I could phone and we could chat and we used to go out, like for meals. All that came to a stop. But because I was young and dumb and in love, I thought it was because he loved me. So this morning, he had to take me to the bus stop. And it was one of the first times as well. So I remember standing at the bus stop and my phone rang and it was a withheld number. Now, normally when you'd get a withheld number, it was an international call, someone calling you in. So I answered thinking, oh, must be someone from home. And it was baby mama. And baby mama's like, can I talk to you? And I said to her, yes. And baby mama says to me, why won't you let him go? He doesn't want to be with you. Why don't you let him go? So you can imagine my shock, like, pardon? So I said to baby mama, listen, I'm catching a bus. So I can't talk on the bus, but when I get to my office, I'm going to give you a call. Got to the office, called baby mama back. Hey, baby mama says, listen, I've been seeing him again, and he's told me he wants to leave you, but you won't let him go. So I'm like, baby mama, what? Baby mama says, yeah, I've been seeing him, and you won't let him go. I said, that whole big man has told you that I won't let him go. I said, how am I restraining him? How am I holding him down? So baby mama turns around and says, no. He says that he's left you. He told you he wants out, but you're saying, no, you can't leave me. So I said to baby mama, okay, you said you've been seeing him. When? Because you see, I thought she was lying because I was always with him. Or so I thought. Baby mama starts telling me days. So you see, when his friends came and were saying to me, you don't even let us spend time with him. You're always calling him home. And he told me that he was saying that to them because he just wanted to come home. He would literally leave our home, go with the guys to a pub, have one pint, and then leave. So if he was away from home for maybe 3 hours, he would be home, like he would leave at about 7 p.m. Supposed to go a night out. They go for a meal or whatever guys do. I don't know. They're supposed to be doing. He wouldn't. He would be home early, but not from being with the guys. He would pass by baby mama and then he would come over. The kicker for me was that baby mama described my bedroom. Baby mama spoke about, we had a wardrobe with mirrors, glass mirrors, beautiful, beautiful. And it was the first, they were still quite new. I'm talking about like in the early 2000s. Baby mama described my carpet. I had this cream, cushy, it was the best carpet. Just your feet would just like melt in it. And as soon as she told me those two things, I knew she'd been in my home. But I couldn't work out when. Because if I wasn't at work and I was at home, I was with him. It began to make sense why Uncle never had money. So you see, when we were having these financial problems and he was always telling me he was paying some debt or something, it was because he wasn't going to work. So baby mama was a live-in carer. So a live-in carer is a person who provides care and support, health and care supports for families or for individuals. They live in the property with that person. So if they're looking after an 82-year-old grandmother, they live in the property, and then they have periods of time in the day when they have a break and someone else comes in and gives them cover while they go out, get their shopping, just so that they just sort of have a break in the day. You're not 24 hours just with one person, but they would live there for like weeks and weeks and weeks. So baby mama lived in a home quite near to where we lived, and I didn't even know this. She was caring for a person that was quite close to us. So what he was doing was going to collect baby mama in her breaks, and then they'd go to ours and do their nonsense. So here we were. I was under the belief that I was in love. He was in love. This man never let me out of his sight. And I thought it was love. And then when I started picking up the control and the jealousy, I thought it was still because of the love. But now I got to understand it was because if I'm driving myself, he can't guarantee where I am. So if he's out of baby mama and they doing something, I might see him. So by dropping me off at work without a car and then picking me back from work, it meant I would be where he left me. And he would be able to do what he wants to do in that time. So when baby mama told me that, I said to her, okay, you've been in my house. You've been in my house. Like, where's the pride as a woman? I would never, ever go into another woman's house, no matter how much that man tries to convince me. To go into another woman's home is disrespectful, is the most disrespectful thing that I feel a woman can do. So I said to her, I'm going to give him a call after I finish this conversation and I'm going to tell him to get out. So tonight he'll be by yours. I'm going to ask him to go and fetch his clothes, get everything off his, and leave right now. So I said to her, bye, thank you for sharing. Put the phone down. I called him. I said, hey. He's like, hey, babe, what's up? And I was like, can you do me a favor? He's like, what? I said, can you go home, pack up all your stuff, and get out of my house? And I put the phone down. He phoned and phoned and phoned and phoned. Now I'm in tears. I phone my mom. I tell my mom what I've just found out. My colleagues are walking in, and because it's hit me and it's like happening to me right there and then, I just blurted the truth out. I just told everyone, like, this girl has just told me this and she's told me that, and I was in tears. And the beautiful thing was that I was in an office with 3 other women, and these women, I tell you, that day carried me because I needed it. That day, those women carried me. Like the encouragement, just the constant. And while I'm in this breakdown stage, I'm like, okay, he's got to go home, and I'm not going to go home straight away. I call one of my best friends and I say to her, I'm going to come over to hers afterwards because I really don't want to see him. He pitches up at my job. So one of the older ladies tried to be more mature and be like, okay, do you want to speak to him? He's here. And I was like, no. He parked outside my job, and I could see him parked outside my job from about 11 o'clock in the morning. I finished work at 5:30. Till 5:30, he was there waiting. He said to me, no, I'm going to give you a lift. And I refused. I caught a taxi. He thought I was going to go home, and I went to my friends. Because I just knew we'd been through when I get beat up and I leave the house and then I come back to him and I go to my sister, or my sister comes to me, and then he's gone out and then he comes back in. We'd been through this up, down, where we've had fallouts, and we had up to that point, we had never broken up, but we'd have the episodes of the abuse, and I would, he would leave the house because the police escort him out of the house, but then he would come back like in a day or two, and I would either leave if it wasn't as bad as, where it's visible. I would leave and, sort of go visit someone for a couple of hours and then come back. So I think he thought we would be doing that same dance. But that day I decided I was going to go to a friend's, and I came back home late. Got back and he was sitting in, he wasn't at home. And I got in and I took his clothes and I cut up everything. I sat for hours just cutting, putting them in a blackburn bag. When he came, because we lived in a flat, I told him he couldn't come in. And I went out to the window and threw these black bags of clothes. And I threw, like, the most important thing to him had been this radio that he had bought, and the speakers. I just threw them out, and they just literally crashed and broke into pieces. And he got so aggressive and came banging on the door, but this time he couldn't put hands on me because I had a door between us. And I saw, for the first time, I really saw how violent he is, because the cloud was gone. I started to see him for who he was. And I kicked him out. So a few days go by and I start to feel sick. I am heartbroken. I don't know what to do. He's coming to my job. He's waiting outside the house. He's sleeping in the car. He's not leaving. He's just with me nonstop outside the house. He's not going to work. He's not bathing. He's literally just waiting in that car, trying to win me back. I get a phone call from his sister, and his sister says, oh, I just wanted you to know the police are looking for him. Police are looking for him? Why? He was so mad that baby mama had told me about the affair, that he'd gone round and beat up baby mama. He'd gone round and beat her up because why did she tell me? So now the police were looking for him. So because his sister called me, I went out to where he was in the car, and I said to him, your sister's just called and told me the police are looking for you. You better go. Just hand yourself in and just deal with what needs dealing with. He saw an opening. He saw that the love was still there. He saw that I was still concerned about him. Because by me going to talk to him and telling him, you better just go see the police and see what's going on, I was showing him that I still loved him. So he came back. I opened the door because I want to hear what did the police have to say. So when he came back, we have a conversation. He says to me the most biggest lie that I bought into. He told me he didn't love her and it was just for the mix. He said that she would cry and threaten to commit suicide, and he went to go see her because she was threatening that, and then he felt guilty, then he did this and then he that, and I don't even know who I was. I don't even know who I was at that time. I was broken. I was a broken woman. He'd broken me down to the point that I couldn't see myself. I couldn't see my worth. I couldn't see what I deserved. I couldn't see what was good treatment. All I did was just fall. And because I'd been feeling ill for a few days, a thought came to my mind. Could I be pregnant? I thought, no, not now. We'd always wanted to have kids. We'd spoken about it. And so we were open to having a baby. We were open to having kids. So it wasn't like I was going to be like, oh, why? But the timing, this season when I am a shell of a person, I would sit and I'd have the TV on and I would just stare at that TV and not even know what was going on. I wouldn't even register nothing. I would go to church and I would hear a sermon and it would just go over my head. I literally was a zombie. I'd wake up and go to work and come home, wake up and go to work and come home, and I didn't know what was happening around me. I lost so much weight. I looked anorexic. And so I thought, I may just have to get a pregnancy test. I go, pregnancy test, positive. You are pregnant. I call my mom. Oh God, mommy, what do I do? What do I do, mom? I'm pregnant. This man has broken me down so much that I've let him back into the house. I look at him. I feel disgust. I feel invisible. I feel unworthy. Start having all these negative voices in my head. So many negative voices in my head telling me that you're not woman enough. Because look, your first boyfriend cheated. Now, the second one cheated as well. And now you're pregnant. So you're going to leave him now. Go away. Which man? I started to hear the saying, better the devil you know. Better the devil you know. The grass isn't greener on the other side. I didn't know how to be good to myself. I didn't know how I had self-worth, how I was a valuable person, how this treatment wasn't okay. I didn't know that. I was rushing and I wanted to get to the other side. I just wanted to get to the other side. So when I told him I was pregnant, he did handstands, all this dramatic. I'm so happy, so excited. He told his dad and his mom. His dad had come and stayed with us the year before, spent 6 months with us as well. And his dad was lovely. His mom, also a good woman. So everyone that didn't know what was really happening was happy for us. Everyone was happy for us. And you can imagine our first scan, which I think they do at about 12 weeks, came back and said twins. I remember lying on this bed. We'd gone to the hospital because he'd been so excited about having the baby. I thought we would be able to get past this and move on in our relationship and grow in the relationship. So he gave me access to his phone. One of the requirements that I gave him, stipulations that I gave him, is during the day, I would not phone him on his mobile. I would phone him on the landline at work to make sure he's at work. And he agreed to it. His boss really liked me, and his boss agreed for me to be able to call him whenever I felt I needed to make sure he was at work. And guess what? I was calling him, he was at work. He wasn't going out anymore with his friends as much. If they went anywhere, I was always invited. So he did do as much as he could to reassure me, you know. But I'll never forget how she said to me, he told you he wants to go and you're not letting him. Because I swear till today, he never ever said that. So that played on my mind to say, has he been trying to tell me that he doesn't want me? Am I missing cues? Am I missing signs? So I that's probably my awakening, where I began to look at it and become a little bit more intentional with what I was listening to him saying. This is a period in my life where I can say the wheel started turning. Because I feel like I'd come and I'd become engaged. You know, when a wheel is turning and it gets stuck. I had been stuck with this man who was abusive, with this man who was hot and cold, with this man that I thought I was so in love with. I had become stuck. But at this period, the hinge had opened and the wheel began to run again. So here we go to the hospital. Both of us so excited, we're pregnant. And he bought a book that said, Daddy, you're pregnant too. And he would be reading this, and he was like, for a man who had had a child, it was like it was his first child. And he was so excited. Oh, baby's the size of a grape, the baby's this. And so we were both pleasantly surprised when, sitting in this room, the sonographer's going through and looks and says, oh, and said, Mom and Dad, I've got a surprise for you. And we were like, yeah. And she said, I can see two. I can see two. We looked at each other and burst out laughing. We could not believe it. 2 babies. Wow. So excited. For me, this was confirmation. We're meant to be together. We're not supposed to be apart because God has blessed us with a set of twins. I was ecstatic. I remember phoning my mom, Mommy, guess what? I'm pregnant with twins. And Mommy says, oh, you always wanted twins. So you see, my mom came from a family where there were 3 sets of twins in their family. And so I'd always said I wanted to have twins. So now for me to be pregnant with twins, I was over the moon. Guys, join me, episode 4, for the rest of my story. This is Tulu Hall, 51, single, never married. In the next few episodes, I'm going to go deeper into my experiences and to the reasons as to why I am single, 51, never married. Good day.